Hello, welcome to episode 3 of What If Civilization Started Over. Now, the first event we are going to be seeing is Zanzibar. Oh, yeah, I added capitals, by the way. You're going to be seeing Zanzibar send out their ships because they're the top, strongest naval power, and they are going to explore around here. They're going to discover these islands, get very close to Madagascar. Eventually, they give up. That's when the wind blows them onto the Madagascaran shores. They start exploring a bit of the island. Eventually, the blue team will even claim a piece of the coast and expand inwards a bit, but not that much because it's a very mountainous island and exploring it will probably be very expensive. We're also going to see the South African team expand inwards a bit around here and explore a bit around past this Lesotoan team, and they're going to start claiming a lot of territory around it, eventually almost fully wrapping around it and expanding along the coast more. This is going to cause the Lesotoan team to also expand out into more flatlands, which they don't like, which actually causes a civil war to break out as the more highland area of the country doesn't like this expansion into flatlands. So they're going to actually break away from the Lesotoan team, which will cause them to become more of a nomadic country and send explorers across the plains of South Africa onto the other coast, where they will be setting up their country kind of more officially on the side. Next, we're going to see a lot more exploration occur as all of this unclaimed territory gets filled in by Malawian and Blue Team explorers. Eventually, they're going to split up the territory along these lines and kind of just partition it between themselves. Also, over in the east, we're going to see the beginning of the Congo exploration as they start to explore these kind of dense, I think this is all Congolese, but all these dense jungles will begin to be explored more, and they're going to get pretty close to reaching the coast, but they're going to eventually stop and begin to claim some of the territory. And this is how this partition is going to look, with the majority of the territory going to the pink team, but also Malawi and this purple team getting some territory too. Anyway, next, you're going to see the yellow team moving into their old territory of this green team in order to kind of retake their territory, as after they last got humiliated, they built up their military a lot more, and now they're capable of this invasion. They eventually get around this capital and send soldiers in, eventually capturing the leader of the country and executing him, taking the capital. Next, they're just gonna march into the rest of the country, start taking it, just as the purple team does the same, and they manage to also grab a lot of territory. And now the rivalry between the yellow team and the purple team is getting much more heated. Anyway, next, we're going to see the Somalian team sending explorers around Djibouti, eventually exploring up into Eritrea past Djibouti, and exploring a bit into Yemen. They just think this is a small river crossing. They do not know that this is a whole other continent. And they are going to keep expanding along here, eventually stopping at the deserts, as it would be very hard to officially claim this territory as their own. And they also go and explore a bit into this Somalian area and claim a lot of it for themselves. Anyway, their explorers are also going to keep traveling, as a few of them kind of got lost. They're going to keep going up this coast along Sudan, and food is getting very low, and they're lost, so they keep expanding all the way up here, and eventually they make the choice to go into the desert, and that's when they discover the Nile River. And at first they're gonna expand along the Nile River. I think it's like around here, stopping before they reach the sea, and they're going to claim this territory for the pink team initially. Before the leader of this colony, kind of the head explorer, he's gonna say that the pink team tried to kill them. That's why he abandoned all these explorers. So they are going to be declaring independence as this kind of um, dark cyan team along the Nile River. They're just going to keep on exploring around where I think the Nile is, eventually reaching up to the Egyptian coast and the Nile Delta as they claim all of this territory. It's kind of the first nation in North Africa. Okay, I fixed up their shape a bit. This is more like how the Nile looks. Anyway, next, a major event will be happening. The citizens in the south of the country, they are going to be breaking away as they feel very mistreated compared to the people in the north, and they're going to start a rebellion away. It's going to go kind of successful. They're going to manage to cut off some of these southern colonies and eventually take this one and push very far into this one. But then Malawi is going to send its military in, cutting down here, reconnecting up with that, and cutting over to the lake, where they encircle a lot of this rebellion's forces, eventually capturing all of them. Although some do flee across the lake into this area of Malawi. And Malawi keeps pushing back, but then the purple team enters the war. They're going to quickly move in, taking the capital and pushing along the sides of the lake, eventually meeting up with the rebellion. They're going to keep on pushing into this area where most of the military is, so they'll actually be able to push back up north a bit, get close to retaking the capital, but that doesn't matter as the pink team has just entered the war. And they're gonna move in quickly, also getting close to the capital, and they're actually gonna start fighting with the purple team, and they're gonna take the capital from them. And this is gonna cause the purple team to send ships across this lake, taking their capital. Now this whole war is just one big mess, as the rebellion, they push back in the south, taking that area and pushing up the lake, before eventually making peace with the remainder of Malawi, as now the blue team's even entering to take some of their territory, and they push, the military pushes back a bit, before they eventually just form their own military government in this area. And the rest of it is just going to fall to the pink team. And now for the peace treaty, it's going to look something like this, with Malawi being completely partitioned between South Malawi, the military, the purple team, the blue team, and the pink team. Now, the purple team, they took this little outpost here from the pink team just in case they need to quickly get their capital again, as tensions between these two are still very high, as I forgot to erase that capital, as the pink team ended up taking where their capital was. Anyway, for the final events of this video, more large explorations will occur, like around the Cape Coast. This will all be discovered. South Africa will end up finding southern Madagascar. More pushes into the Congo will happen as more of this is discovered. It's really going up around here. The green team will expand a little bit. There will be more expansion into Somalia. And then a bit like over here, as a large portion of the Egyptian team do want to eventually go back to Somalia someday. And Somalia will also expand more along Yemen. But it'll be really hard as this is just like all desert. They'll also almost find Socotra, but they don't. And now more countries will claim. The claimed territories will look like this throughout all of Africa. And that will do it for this episode of What If Civilization Started Over.